back to Movie Fridays, and quite an interesting coincidence I have today, because yesterday was the 30th anniversary of one of the most well-known, independently released, sorta kinda distributed by Disney, classic from 1987, The Brave Little Toaster. Now, this movie I watched a lot as a kid, like early childhood up until sometime around, I can't seem to remember, but it was sometime around my early childhood. And of course, this is one of the most well-known films that many people actually know about. The reason that they, of course, remember this movie mostly for the scary moments in it. But if I want to be honest with you guys, even as a young kid, I was not scared of this movie. Yeah, never thought you heard of that from a person before. A young kid, and he's not scared of the scenes from Brave Little Toaster. Well, before I go anywhere else, let's basically tell the basic plot of the story. 5 household appliances, a toaster, a lamp, a radio, electric blanket, and a vacuum cleaner, all wind up obviously staying inside this cottage for so many years that, of course, in the process, they've missed their proposed master, which, of course, is the young boy who always loved them each time that he came to the cottage. As soon as they find out that the cottage is up on sale, they wind up deciding to venture out into the forest and the city to try and find the master. I do have to say this much for the movie. For a storyline that's based on the novella by Thomas M. Disch, it does have the bare basic plot of it down. I mean, essentially, it's the household appliances going out to try and find him. But here's where the differences start to kick in. The ending, of course, was completely changed to the story, and spoilers if you have not read the book, well, yeah, neither do I, but essentially the story ends like this. The household appliances in the movie reunite with their original master. In the book, they obviously wind up going along with another master to have them be a part of their household. Quite interesting to discover the changes between the book and the novel. But let's get back to the focus at hand, the storyline, my own personal experiences, and everyone else's experience with the movie. There's a lot to go through. And even when I posted it out, not only on Facebook and Twitter, I basically have said that, honestly, The Brave Little Toaster did not scare me a lot. And there were a lot of other friends who were like that. Even on my page, I said, if I should be frank, the scary moments didn't bother me at all. And this obviously goes alongside a lot of other moments in the movie, such as Worthless, like this is the third official song from the movie, and looking at the lyrics, it's quite interesting just how the lyrics are, because it's basically talking about how cars winded up living meaningless lives. Quite interestingly scary, but then again, you're speaking to a kid who didn't even, get scared or try to understand a lot of these scenarios. But also another thing I should point out is that other than, the hellish moments from the movie, like the electric evil fire clown, I'm not kidding when I say that, and the toaster dying in the tub being plugged in, here's the thing. I was not scared for one bit. like, everything I've mentioned, not only on Facebook, but also here on Twitter, is that the Fire Clown some find terrifying. I don't, even as a young kid. The AC, played by Phil Hartman, who has a psychological episode and literally explodes out of overheating. I mean, I'm surprised I never got scared of these moments. That's the one thing that scares me. The scary moments that people find so traumatic and really scary that they won't come back to the movie, I don't find scary. And you're probably wondering, why? Well, let me say it again. I watched this as a young kid. I watched it a lot in early childhood. To make matters interesting, not only did I watch this movie when I was young, but, so this is one thing I gotta confess. My parents obviously didn't limit on how many, what rated movies I can and can't see. The only thing, and their limitation was, back then, I couldn't watch something like, Natural Born Killers as a young kid, and the second half of Full Metal Jacket right after the boot camp. But always, both my brother and I had an interesting life and movies and whatnot. But how can you, blame me? I mean, don't blame my parents for this, but I lived a very interesting life. And just to be on this side of the note, I still love the movies I see. I watched a lot of the ones as a young kid. I watched, Bugs Bunny shorts. I'd watch Robin Hood. I watched a lot of the Disney films. Brave Little Toaster, on the other hand, well, this movie was the beginning of something for my viewing as a kid. This movie, I think, was probably the cause of being nostalgia. It kicked my nostalgia into fruition. Sure, a lot of, people I knew in middle school, even people I don't, poked fun at me for doing this, but, hey, people at least gotta have a nostalgia once in their lives, so why can't I? Back to the story. This was the movie that kicked my nostalgia right into gear. And besides that, it led me to, of course, watching a bunch of other things. So, it was quite interesting seeing how this movie made a huge impact on me. But also when I rewatched it in middle school with my older brother, we actually found this pretty fun to rewatch, especially since we both watched this one as a young kid. And since then, it's gained such a cult classic. It's gained that following. It's gained such a strong influence on people that this is one of the movies they think of when it comes to Disney. But interesting fact, it wasn't all like this. In fact, the director of the film, Jerry Rees, was obviously trying to find a distributor for the movie. And of course, for each screening he went to, every film festival possible, nobody picked it up. Not even when it went to the Sundance Film Festival. The people there who chose the movie to be there, the movie that would be the winner, they said this movie would have won, but they didn't want to be the first film festival to give an award for an animated movie. And instead they chose a movie that they think would have been remembered for the longest time, but it became long forgotten years on. Biggest mistake they have ever made. Now, to know that fact, it's quite shocking. I mean, this little movie from 1987 is an animated movie that every generation should see. It should. It's one of the most well-known, distributed by Disney movies. But I mean, they also made the direct-to-video sequels, but we're not here to focus on that. Maybe sometime later. To get back to the story at hand, the movie has a strong influence on me. I had a love for a lot of the moments in the movie. I loved one of the childlike characters, Blanky, who is obviously a young kid. I mean, in the novel he's like an adult, but in the movie he's like a little kid that just really loves his master and really can get sensitive to some situations. He's that kid, like really that much of a kid. Then you've got the electric vacuum cleaner, Kirby, played by, surprisingly enough, the voice of Tony the Tiger. Forget what his voice was, but I know it was Thurl Ravenshaw. Can't speak today. Ravenscroft. Sounds weird. And foreign, too. But essentially, he was Tony the Tiger, but he was also one of the main vocalists for the song from the Grinch special, You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. And through a little interview from a source up on YouTube that did an interview between the director as well as the voice of the toaster, Deanna Oliver, which, fun fact, she's actually a local from Spokane, Washington. They talked about what it was like to work on the movie. They essentially said that at least the director didn't know that Thurl was, in fact, Tony the Tiger, and he pretty much only remembers him as, of course, the vacuum cleaner, Kirby. As for the electric blanket, this is an interesting story. The director, when they went into, work on the movie, this kid, Timothy E. Day, who played the blanket, as well as the young master in one of the fantasy sequences, they didn't do anything to the kid. He was he nailed everything on the first take. It's like, okay, I want you to emote like this. And when they recorded, he did that. He emoted perfectly well. That was surprising of even child actors back then. I mean, sure, we got Gabriel Damon, who was the voice of Littlefoot in The Land Before Time, and still is, really impressive actor, and sadly quit around 2006, but he also did a fantastic job on one of the episodes in Next Generation. That is a Star Trek series. But, better get down to the final thoughts. Brave Little Toaster is a big classic. It is a movie that must be seen for every generation. And pretty much, if anybody has to restore and remaster this movie, since Disney hasn't done anything with it since the DVD came out, and I'm serious, they didn't do anything. This was released in 2003, and they've done nothing with it. They haven't announced any Blu-ray releases, they haven't announced any remasterings, or TV airings, or, digital version of the film restored, remastered, presented for a new generation. Nothing. Sometime in the future, I just hope the president or whoever's running Disney, Bob Iger, or just anybody down in the production and the Disney vault, whoever's in charge of that weird nonsense, get to work on restoring the Brave Little Toaster. Or for that matter, send the Criterion Collection this movie. Because Criterion does a fantastic job of restoring movies, putting them out on Blu-ray, getting them known to the masses. Hell, I even like the Criterion Collection, especially since they put all the Beatles films out. They put out Help, they put out, what was it? They put out, Hard Day's Night, and I believe Magical Mystery Tour. I mean, they don't have Yellow Submarine, because that was released by Apple. But Criterion makes for a perfect Blu-ray company for this movie. And I hope sometime down the line, Disney will at least allow them to restore the movie and present it for a new generation. And I will say, and this is the first time I'm doing this, the Brave Little Toaster is awesome-tacular. Who knew such little appliances could lead very interesting lives? So, the Brave Little Toaster, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or what's your favorite animated movie that obviously not a lot of people know about, or at least the company doesn't feel like is released around this time and age, but is still a classic to this very day? Whatever your thoughts are, comment below and let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click on the channel name or wait for the end slate if you want to see more. And as always, I'm the Frog Guy, and I'll see you guys for the next movie.